line, right, a few lines below the Kuf Yud Gimel. The line begins with the word Vaharehu Poyo. So we're still into this principle. That Lamaila, the Koyach, is not lacking the Poyo. So we try to put into meaning to these words. The Koyach is not lacking.
The koyach is not lacking
The Poyo.
In Machshava.
What?
In the Machshava of Hashem.
In Lamaila. Lamaila, the Koyach is not lacking the Poyo. The very form of the grammatical form of this implies that the Koyach inherently contains the Poyo. We explained why the Koyach contains the Poyo. Because the whole value and the whole significance and the whole purpose of the Koyach is the Poyo. That means that the Poyo is inherently contained within the Poyo. This is the way, theoretically, this is the way it is. Lamaila, this is practically, this is the way it is. The Koyach it contains the Poyo. Lamato, the Koyach does not contain the Poyo. It certainly alludes to the Poyo, and certain dimensions of the Poyo, but in it itself does not have the Poyo. This is why we have such a difficulty understanding this. Because here, Lamata, we can think of things which have nothing to do with fact, with actuality. When we think of things here below, you're not thinking from a reality perspective. You're thinking on a superficial level. I want to give us a tangible example of this. The example itself also needs to be understood, but I'm sure we understand it.
It's an example of thinking on a superficial level.
That's right.
We need examples for this.
Yes, we need examples of this because we don't realize. We think.
And it'll be hard to be understood. Okay.
No, to understand the difference between thinking
On a real level.
on a real level of thinking on a non-existent level. We all know 2 times 2 equals to 4. We take it for granted 2 times 2 equals to 4. So I always ask a question: where is the seichel? Where is the spirit behind it? This is just simply. This is not a seichel in you. This is just counting over 2 and 2, and you have 4. So you're talking about the result. You're talking about the concept. On paper, 2 times 2 equals to 4 is a very simple thing. It's on paper. It's real on paper. But if you want to translate this, think about this. If you want to translate 2 times 2 equals to 4 in a real environment, in the world, you have 2 people, and then you bring 2 other people. So now 2 times 2 equals to 4 people. The people don't automatically occur. Because there's 2 people, there's going to be 4 people. You have to have 4 people. In fact, the 2 don't create the 4. So this principle, 2 times 2 equals to 4, is on paper. We can think on paper. And that's enough for us. This is the degree, the extent of our wisdom, how things are on paper. But really, what we ought to, what the seichel is demanding, what is the reality in the world? What's going to happen if you have 4 people? It's a completely different story than if you have 2 people. Different accommodations and different into relationships, it's a completely different thing. It doesn't happen automatically.
I mean, some will say that the mathematics is just a representation of the practical. So
That's right.
it doesn't seem like a great difference here between superficial and actual. In fact, the paper calculation is just a representation of
A representation of what?
cents, people, pizza
I'm
slices.
saying, but it's not. But you're not talking about something real.
Well, that's what I'm pointing out, that seemingly in mathematics it is a derivative from something real. It's a record of stuff happening in the world.
Excuse me. At what level is it a representation?
What's that? What do you mean?
At what level of it does it represent? A totally superficial, non-significant level.
Oh, well, it's numerical. It's not about significance.
Excuse me?
It's numerical. It's about accounting. It's not.
No, that's exactly what I'm
It
saying.
is superficial.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Please try to understand. We are capable of things that don't exist.
Yeah.
They don't need to exist. We're thinking,
Conceptually.
not even conceptually. The concept is also doesn't need to be substantiated. It's not a real presence. But when you speak in the real world, then you have to, in the real world, you have to think everything. When you say two, you're talking two what? There's a content there. It's not merely a number of two.
Oh, you're saying that the fact that it's mufshat from actual stuff makes it superficial?
Yeah, makes it nothing. We are able to think. The Milo, however, there is no such thing. The Milo, every thought contains its significance.
Right. Well, in this world, we sometimes go the opposite direction. If something's mufshat, if it's abstract, we sometimes say that's deeper. Here we're saying it's more superficial because it's not referencing actual stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. This is the attitude, the way things are here in matter, because we're not really involved in the reality. We're involved in our own accomplishment. Look what I figured out. But what's the significance of what I figured out? Nothing.
Well, yes and no. When we come to a real klal, a real principle, by abstracting from actual cases, then that can be a genuine accomplishment. It's not necessarily a vanity. Is that correct?
No. Let me ask you, this is a very painful reference. In the camps, in the Lager, by the Germans in Machmon, there were no people, there were numbers. What does that conjure up? What does that mean to you?
Dehumanizes.
It means nothing. These are not real entities.
Right. Okay, I was just pointing out the opposite. That's where they reduced people to numbers, and it was inhumane. It was complete. But on the opposite side, we do seem to have the concept of a principle, where we think abstractly and we come to a true principle.
A principle, yes, but the principle doesn't contain anything.
Right, because it's indicative of all situations.
In all situations. What situations? In other words, you can think. The reason you can think abstractly is because you're not involved in anything.
If you explain to a child you should share your toys, this is Hachnas Orchem, share your stuff with the kids who visit. They're not going to take your stuff when they leave, but share all your toys. And then he makes that general to every guest. He's not gained the principle, that's true?
No.
Okay.
No, and think about it. Then every time a guest comes, he will greet him. And you will communicate with him in his language and in his manner. You will not just sit there and say, "Hey, you are one other guest that I already shared. I'm sharing with you the way I shared with this guy."
Yes, exactly.
He's not going to do that.
But he's not going to have to be mistaken and think here's a kid who's come to take my stuff, because he's applying.
Well, that is the thing that my stuff is a completely of topic. The point is, what is the significance of sharing? Every time that you share with somebody, you share with a real person.
Right. And when it says do not steal, it's about every real person, but it's also a klal. That's my point, that it's a abstraction, but it's true. It's not an abstraction.
One second.
We're calling it superficial.
Okay, I got myself into it, and I have to carry it to the end. It's not an abstraction. Do not steal is not an abstraction. The reason there is the principle do not steal is not because of an abstraction, but because there's a creator to this world. Everything in the world is pre-owned by its creator. And if you have access to it, it's because the creator is granting you access to it. And when you take somebody else's property, you're taking that which the creator gave him.
Right.
So that's a real thing. This is not an abstraction.
Right, well that's how a true principle works. It will apply correctly to every practicality.
But when you say do not steal, you're not going to abstain from stealing because of an abstraction. You're going to abstain from stealing because you appreciate the value of ownership.
Right.
And appreciate the other person.
Yes.
And if you're going to live at the level of abstraction, you're going to be a German nothing. And the person that you meet is a number.
Right, but there will come a day where they're resolving a conflict, or the judge, the Dayan, is looking at a situation. He has to say, did this guy own it? Like we had two holding on the talus, and you're right. He looks into the meaning of it. So that's
right.
Okay.
He's not going to do it by numbers.
Right, but it's also not superficial, and he doesn't.
No, just the opposite. I'm saying
exactly.
Superficial is nothing.
Exactly. Okay.
We are able to think. This is the Lamato koyach is chosed peil. You can think in the koyach and you not even include the reality of it.
Right.
Lamato ein koyach chosed hapoil. The koyach already include the peil. You cannot think of human beings lamailo as numbers. You just can't. Here lamato you could. Unfortunately.
So interesting.
This is what the Rebbe is explaining. Therefore, when Lamaila there is a thought of anything, the thought already includes the reality that this is referring to in the thought.
And they're inseparable.
They're inseparable because in Lamaila there is only reality. And the Rebbe, quote unquote, thinks in terms of, I have to, it's a new season, and now I have to see to it that the new season is well supplied with food. What is he talking about? About real food and real season, real people. And this is why, when we stand up and we ask Hashem, we pray for something, He immediately identifies who we are. Because you were real people before He even started. That's another aside. Okay? And then the Rebbe came to a point where it says that the instant that the Rebbe thought of creating the world was immediately created. Because his thought creates. The Rebbe explains, this thing that his thought creates is a creation in bekoyach, not bekoyach. This bekoyach is what we struggle with. It's a very reaching in, and we exposed it. But I hope you understand what bekoyach means.
Was immediately created, and then we dialed that back by saying potentially, not actually.
No. That we clearly said because does not mean potentially. Because means actually. Actually at the level of koyach.
Actually, but not factually. Actually.
Oh, that's what's up. Actually and factually at the level of koyach. The level of koyach is a real thing. So let me explain again. You don't understand the problem.
Do we have an English, just one English sentence to say that?
No.
No, we don't. Okay.
Koyach is facilitator. Something that facilitates.
So wait, it was
That's
he thought of it. It was immediately created, but
as a facilitator. Let me explain, and I have this, we've been talking about this for a long time. We have a very factual illustration of this. There is an undeveloped field, unlimited expanse of ground. On this ground, theoretically, you can clear it up and you can build houses and develop the whole community. But if you go and see this ground in its pristine state, you will not immediately begin to think, okay, how do we develop into a living quarter? It doesn't have the wherewithal, doesn't have the beginnings, the call to make it a living, a communal thing. It's a wilderness. It's overgrown and beasts are running. It doesn't talk about the human habitat. Let's transfer that to a place where there's also ground, but the ground is well kept. There's no wild growth. There's no weeds. There's no grass. And it's a clear, open space. And it's in close proximity to a house, to a city. You say, it's a good place to go. There's nothing there. But it is the koyach, that which it speaks about in developed area. It speaks about an inhabited area, even though there's not a beginning of it. That's what bekoyach. It already has the bekoyach, the facilitation of developing it into. All you have to do is build a house. You don't have to create the environment. The environment is right there. This is the bekoyach.
Sorry, would it be fair to say, when he thought of making the world, then immediately time and space were there? That's facilitator, right. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Time and space and the facilitator for world. In other words, the interrelationship between the different parts of the world and everything, a complete reality.
Fine, but not what? Not any Metzius Yesh, not any Bria.
That's right.
Okay.
This is what he said. That Lamailo, as soon as it was a thought of creation, it was created the poil, but the poil is at the koyach level. The line starts with the word Baharehu, which is approximately 6 lines down from Kufyu Gimel. Baharehu poil. It is a poil. It's not a theoretical thing, it's not a potential thing, it's a real presence. However, it is known, the poil of the koyach, the poil that's contained in the koyach is in the madrega of the koyach. The poil is the madrega of koyach. What is madrega of koyach? Madrega of koyach is bekoyach, there is nothing that can obstruct it and interfere with it. When you come bepoil, you need to get someplace. You need a facility to get there. You need to do away with obstruction, with opposition. So bekoyach, there is no opposition. In Hashem's machshava, things were created bepoil, but bepoil ad the adrega of koyach, which means in a pure and absolute level. Okay, you can go on indefinitely. Yes.
And why is the Rebbe bringing this pretty difficult piece here? We're talking about Yediyah and Bechira. That's the underlying topic, right?
Yeah.
So what does this have to do with that?
Because he wants to explain how is it true that the idea is muvdeles be'erech on the poyel to the extent that the idea does not have an effect on the poyel. How can it be? How can it be?
Where is the
So at first we said, oh, because it's in a different realm. But he says, but it's not true. It's a factual, the idea is a factual presence. Is a factual presence. And therefore it should have an effect on the Bechira.
So the idea is itself the parallel to Playat and Toil as they are Lamaila.
That's right. So the idea itself should have an effect on the facility of choice.
Since it's Lamaila, the idea is like the Toya, but it's a Toya that has a Toil.
Not since it's a mile. Since it's an idea Lamaila is a factual idea. It creates already its what it knows bekoyach. Therefore, that should have an effect on the choice that presented to human beings.
Because the Toya Lamaila doesn't lack a Toil.
That's right.
So if we understand this, that actually presents more of a problem.
That's right.
With
So now the question is, how is it Bechira? How is it Bechira?
we're adding a notch in the difficulty of.
All right, Baruch. Okay. So now, how do we reconcile this difficulty? It's not a reconciliation. How do we understand the whole principle? The idea, and the minute there is a machshava, there is a real thing, and yet that real thing does not affect the human being lamato from making and giving him a complete open field for the choice, unobstructed, unlimited.
Now, just to clarify, when we're saying Lamaila, this is prior to the Tzimtzum. When we're talking after.
Even after it's in.
It's after the Tzimtzum.
Yeah. Machshava akduma de'ak.
Okay.
So now that we're going back and forth in circles, let's go inside and cover it from beginning, hopefully as far as we can go, maybe tomorrow. And we are going to start at the end of the line, just above the Kuf Yud Gimel. See that the ideal Lamaila is not machriach as abchira. Because the idea is at a real different level that has no relationship to the mitzias of the person. It's not felt in the person. Let's go inside. The hagam sheyoidea kol ezavos kedim sheizhav. That although he knows the entire creation before it came being created, mikol mokoim, yet still, ein ze machriach as hayizhavos. This was another notch in this thing. The Rebbe says that the similar thing is in the creation itself. The Rebbe knew the creation before he created. And so was a creation at that point that he knew it. Is that now is that imperative that there should be a creation or not? Just no. Does not compel that there should be creation, even though it's there in knowledge. It's bekoyach, and it doesn't demand that it should come with play. Umasha mavur. Let's cover it straight. Umasha mavur bekama mekemis. That which is explained in many places. The hoelomis, that the worlds. Take him she'olah b'tzein machshavte yisborich. As soon as it entered the Hashem's rotz and Hashem's thought, miyad nizhav, they immediately came to be. Because in his thought, it's real and it becomes a creation. Harei, however, behold, lo yizhav b'pchinas mitzius, yay. They were created, but not created b'pchinas, in that which can be identified as mitzius yesh. What then was it? Mitzius yesh means a mitzius that is present. It can be identified as something that exists. So he says it was created, but not b'pchinas mitzius yesh. Again, since we struggle so much, we're going back and forth, let's focus in. What is bechinas mitzias yesh mean? What did bechina come in here? Mitzias yesh is mitzias yesh. What is bechinas mitzias yesh? The word bechina means that it calls for, it's identified with. It has the influence of Metzius Yesh. That's what Bechina.